Next VCR. This time we've got interestingly, we've actually got a national and we've got a Panasonic NV-G25. It seems like the G28 is pretty similar, but I don't have one of those. But I've got three NV-G25s, so we'll take a look at those. Maybe I've got one of each of these. I don't know why one of them says Panasonic on it and the other one says national. We'll take a look. Kind of skipped doing a separate video for the 20 NV-G21 because it's too similar to the G20, and we covered that last time in the previous video, and there were videos earlier on it as well. So on to new exciting things. Got a knob on it. So the service manual don't tell you what's going on, but in the features it says it's got a slim design, good multifunction display, remote control, picture sharpness control, amazing. Look at this, if it's the G28 model, it has an auto voltage selector, which means it can go between, well, it can switch between either 110 or 240 volts without a manual adjustment, which is, it's a little bit confusing because I've been running these VCRs that use a switching power supply, like the G20 and onwards. I was already running those on 120 volts at times, and they don't seem to care, even though the rating plate on the back says 230, not 240. I guess it's a range. But it will be switching, I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know about that. It says... No, it's not switching. It just says it be used wherever the local range, voltage range is between 110 and 240. So it just must have enough margin in it that it can operate over the full range rather than switching one or the other. Interesting, it doesn't start at 100 for Japan, but maybe they've got their own special models. Auto operation, a search dial. This is a new exciting thing. So you just turn this knob, turn this control, and you can access different functions. It's got long play, index, intro, scan. Because it has an index, interesting, you can put index marks on the tape and then it will play the first 10 seconds of each one as it comes to it. Yeah, it's a good knob to control the playback, rewind, fast forward, etc. And so I noticed here that in the contents it lists which model, so there must be a number of differences. Maybe there isn't. No. So it looks like almost all the boards are the same. Color correction, input selection, head amp, audio, operations, timer, channel selector, interface. Until we get down to TV demodulator, that seems to be different. And the tuner, and then RF converter, which seems to have a bunch of different versions because different regions will have different channel spacings and standard channels, so it needs a different RF converter for that. Taking it apart, we have to undo the nut, the search dial circuit board. It's good, all the usual things that we've come to like. Has got the head with the oil fluid bearing in it. Do not loosen these screws. So that might have the problem that the oil's dried out. Adjustments, and then there's all the schematics. Oops, the pages are falling out because the glue's dried up. Yeah, oh well. Board layouts, then exploded views, parts list. Great, let's look at the actual thing. That's more exciting than looking at that. Okay, so I've got them stacked up here because there's a national one and there's a Panasonic one, and I don't know what's different. I don't think there's anything different other than possibly the region that it was intended to go to. So similar to the G21, it's got this panel with buttons on it. It's pretty much identical to the G21, isn't it? Except it's got the long play, short play selector switch there. And then these controls, standard basic controls. Is the record under this flap? Yes, that's over here, record and pause up there. And then the exciting part, this is what we came for. This special control which allows you to access play ×2 playback, Q, which is fast forwarding while playing, then slow motion playback in 3 different speeds, a 1/5, a 1/10 and a 25th of a second, paused, still, reverse play, and then review, rewinding while still playing. So that's pretty exciting. Hopefully we get to see that in action. With 3 machines here, we can probably get something working to see that in action. On the back, you can see it's like a wide version of the G21, which would finish there, but this has an extra bit of stuff. Power supply, video inputs and outputs, RF input and outputs, and I noticed on the rating labels they're both G25 EA, even though one says Panasonic and one says National. So, don't know about that. Let's start off by having a go at turning these on, and then from that we'll decide what one to take apart and look at further. So we've got the bottom one plugged in. Yeah, that comes up. Okay, the display is a bit wonky. This area of the display seems very dark compared to that part. Strange. Power that off. And we'll just switch the power cord to the top one and we'll see what that does. I don't know if I've recapped the power supplies in these or not, or if they're even the original ones, because I was swapping them around at one point. This turned on. The mechanism is doing stuff, so that might have an issue. Well, at least it's got a working power supply. But yeah, perhaps we'll leave that one alone. Notice how the date flashes 1987. So I guess that's the year this thing was released. Because why would it go to dates that were older than what the current time is? Alright, this top one, I don't know, we might have to look at retiming the mechanism, or maybe the mode switch is broken or something, I'm not sure. I don't know what the history of these things is. So, got the third one here. Let's have a look at that first, since it doesn't have any screws on it. So this third one, it doesn't have a power supply. It looks in bad shape. There's quite a lot of crust on there. It's like the board's been eaten by something leaking. Interesting, it's been screwed all back together. So maybe what we could do is get the mechanism out of this one and stick it in that other one that's having problems and see if that helps it. Interesting, the extra space, there's a heatsink there. There's some extra regulator. Yeah, that board might be a bit ruined. Someone's had a go at re-soldering things. There's also an extra board here. Is that the thing in the service manual they called color corrector? Maybe. Whatever that means. Screw in channel selector PCB. Okay. Channel selector? Guess that's something to do with the tuner then. Maybe this is quite available in many regions, or has a lot of different versions for different regions. Don't know. Let's just explore it a bit. Probably this particular one was in the pile of stuff to get scrapped, so I'd probably previously determined that this one wasn't worth keeping because of the state of this board. It might have a good mechanism in it. Oh, the front panel's a bit damaged. Something's going on there. So that's a channel selector board? I wonder what kind of channels it selects. A strange thing. Did that mean they could keep this all standardized and then the bits that vary by region or something are on that? Who knows? So on the bottom, same mechanism that we saw in the G20, except this one's actually got its circlip. You could probably just put this whole mechanism into a G20, get it running again if necessary. Let's take the front off. Yes, because this has got that flip down control panel, there's extra steps for taking the front panel off. You've got to get these screws off first. These fancy features that look nice, they hinder the servicing ability a bit because you've got extra work to get the front off, and you've got to get the front off before you can do anything else. Now maybe that stays there and the rest of the front panel can come off, then you can undo screws to get that off. I think that we have to pull this knob off before the front will come off. Probably. Yeah, it looks like the whole thing needs to come off. Or does it come out with the board? It's all a bit unknown. Oh, we could read the service manual and find out. Okay, there were clips on the side. There's clips on the ends. There you go. So yes, you have to undo that, the nut holding that little control thing. And no clips on the bottom need undoing because they were part of this bit. The cables are all tied down. So now that that's front's out of the way, there are quite a number of additional red screws here which are holding this cover flap, and the longer ones, longer screws. Oh, look at that, it sort of comes with it. That makes it good, so you don't have to completely remove this control panel to get the board flopped up out of the way. You need to undo the screws each side of the RF thing and next to the AV/IO thing. Alright, this should lift up now. I've got to get this ground wire out of the way. Don't forget that. And we've got to unfurl these cables. I think something needs to happen over here. Oh, there's more ground wires that unplugs. It's interesting that there's a shielded wire coming over here onto the front panel. It's like shielded with 3 signal cores in it. What that's all about. This board does seem a bit different to the G20. It's older, more crustier. Oh, this thing is a complete mess. It's because everything's pulling on everything. That needs to come out of the way so that this can tip up. Then it's got nothing to sit on. See that the sub boards that are on here seem to be, they just look older and crustier than the stuff that we saw on the G20. I don't know, unless I'm just imagining things. Yeah, well, the G20 one, it had those ceramic things. Well, there is some ceramic things on this. So we can tip this up so that we can get a better view at the corroded area. Heatsink thing there. I wonder if the power supply that was in this originally fully exploded, because there's all kinds of residue on the board there. So something's definitely blasted out or leaked out of somewhere, unless it was tipped in from the top. If this was sitting somewhere and something poured into it through the vent, I guess that's possible. Someone spills a drink on it and then that would drip into the power supply and ruin that as well, especially if it's turned on. I don't know, I'm not going to taste that to determine what it is. Yeah, so the cable to the power supply, that dodgy thing, seems to be in reasonable condition. But what we can see there is it's got a different type of sub-board thing. Before, in the other models we saw, it was an aluminium-backed thing which was folded over and had surface mount parts on both sides, and that was soldered in. Whereas this time it's a ceramic substrate with legs, and then there's surface mount parts on there. Look at that, it's a quad flat pack thing, but it's rectangular. It's not something you see every day. And you can see that ribbon cable, the blue thing, is about to fall off. So be very careful with that. Power regulator goes to somewhere. And this encoder here, it's probably a special Alps one. Yeah, it says Alps Japan on it. So presumably they got that created especially for this model, because it has certain detents and things in it which wouldn't be standard. It's quite stiff to turn. Oh, it also doesn't have an end stop. Oh, the housing provides the end stop. See, with that half circle thing there going into getting hit by a notch in the knob, so without that you can go the whole way around. So this seems to have 4 switches in it. Perhaps they get pressed in different combinations. Must be a microcontroller. That thing there looks like either a crystal or resonator. That goes into a microcontroller, and then I think it's just 2 wires coming off of it. And that must decode that and control it with some serial data like it was coming from a TV remote. We can probably look that up and have a look at it. There's a couple of things I want to look up. I want to see what the power supply board is like in the one that's supposedly 3.5 is the power supply. We'll just get sidetracked for a moment. So that's the G28 power supply. It's just a switch mode. Yeah, so there is no switching to make it either 120 or 230 or 220 volts. It must just be a full range power supply, because if it was one that's switched, they'd have to have 2 capacitors on the input side, 2 main caps. They only have 1. Alright, next bit is, what was that little board called? Like a control board or something? A knob board? Search dial CBA. Is that going to be on here? Search dial schematic diagram 37. There you go. That's different, isn't it? Or was it just me not looking at the switch properly? It looked to me like there was 4 individual switches that turn on and off, and it will be different combinations like a binary thing, but no, it looks like this. This 5 volts goes into those 2 terminals, and then there's 4 outputs which are pulled up. That's weird, isn't it? No, they're not, they're pulled down. That's a bad way of drawing the schematic. You should have it going downwards. Pulled down, and then the switch will pull them up. And then it's just some kind of microcontroller, and then the output is serial clock and data. Interesting. So it probably just treats it like a remote control thing and just gives it a command to do those various things. That's interesting, isn't it? I guess the microcontroller is debouncing all the switches, and then when it settles on a new state from what it was previous, it will send a command out as if you'd pushed a button on a remote or on the control panel. I think that would be what happened there. When you turn it and it clicks into a new position, and once the bouncing settles down, it sends a command. Great. I think we've looked at the board in that. So perhaps next step is we'll dig out that one that turns on because it's got a power supply, and we'll try it out. See if it runs. This guy. Oh yeah, the one that's missing the power supply. It's probably this power supply, because no matter what switched around, this was just sitting somewhere else with other random junk. It says from G20, but it also says dead was in G25. So maybe I put it into one of these at some point to try and get one of them going, and then it blew up. I don't know, I probably had more G20 VCRs originally. I think I have 2 at the moment. Perhaps there was 3 before, and that came from one of them. It's been a long time, and I don't know anymore. So, we'll turn this on and see if it will run a tape, and then see if we get output. I'll just go straight to putting a tape in. Try fast forwarding it. Seems to be fine. I'll try rewinding it. Seems to be fine. Head moves. We'll get a video signal cable hooked up to it, and then we'll try going into play mode and see what happens. Video out. Alright, let's see. Can we get it to play by turning this? Can. You can twiddle the knob to get it to start. Oh, look at that. It just works. It's good. Good working machine. So there's a pause control here, which is on this panel. But you don't have to do that, because you can just turn this thing to pause and it will go to pause. We would also put it on slow motion. Tracking's a bit rough. Oh, we need to adjust the slow tracking. Yeah, that comes and goes. Maybe, well, I don't know, the heads might be a bit dirty. I have no idea. We haven't even tried to clean them. It's just still a bit messy on my monitor too. But, you know, there's 3 speeds of slow motion there, which you can access with that knob. Normal play. Now that's gone a bit ropey. Oh no, the tape sounds like it's getting chewed. I'll just fast forward that a bit. Is this thing upsetting the tape, or are we in a part of the tape that's upset already? Something, it seems like something in there is creasing the tape a bit. I'll try ×2 mode. Yeah, it's fine on my monitor. It's just got some noise bars on it. And then fast forward mode, which is okay on the non-captured input. We've got pause and then reverse play. Oh, it does some stuff to do that. Oh, now it's missing the tape off a bit. Yeah, the tape is getting crunched up by something. Let's just try and fast forward beyond that. I think it looks like that post there is creasing the tape. Not very good. Yeah, I think this mechanism is not the best. I'm trying reverse play, but yeah, it's really... I'll just fast forward that out of the way, the dirty bit. Who knows, was this tape already creased up there? Let's fast forward a wee way through and then test it again. It's possible that this tape has already been munted by me putting it into other dodgy machines. Let's see, if we go back to reverse play. No, it's crunching it all up. The pinch roller there looks quite dodgy. There's a chance that I've already had a go at this machine by trying to get this thing here, that little arm that gets stuck, re-lubricating that, and probably put it back at the wrong height, and that's why it's like that now. Yeah, because it feels quite loose. So there's a pretty good chance that I or someone adjusted the height of that and now it's ruined. I wonder if can't get to the top of it while a normal tape's in. I was wondering if we could try adjusting it while the tape is running and then see if that tidies it up. No, unfortunately not. Perhaps what we'll do is we'll take the mechanism out of the other one that we just mostly dismantled and put it into the one that seemed to have a problem with the mechanism. So this one seemed like it was loading and unloading a lot. Like it's sensing wrong or the timing is messed up on the gears. Let's try loading a tape into it, forcing a tape into it and see what happens. Nice and dirty and rusty inside, good. And see that it keeps. Wow, that mechanism is really dirty. Oh no, look at that. Okay, that's ruined. Ah, listen to that. So that's a head where that's what the head's like when the oil's dried out. I'm wondering if someone has pulled this off and then put it back not in the correct timing. Yeah, I think that mechanism is had it. You can also see someone has tried to undo that screw and bent it and munged the screw out, so and you'd have to get that out to replace the head. So this thing is a bit had it. So let's take it all apart and we'll get the mechanism out and then put the one from the other machine in here and we'll see if it will start up and work. Just for fun, some debugging adventure. But of course we have to take the whole thing apart just to do that. This also doesn't look very good in that area. So maybe it's just the smoke, the vapors of crustified old capacitors. And I tip this over, heaps of stuff is going to pour out of it. It's so dusty. I think we have to undo that one as well, don't we? Okay, now we've got to get the bottom off to get the front off. That thing out of the way. So I wonder what's happened here, whether a gear is broken, possible, or someone's just taken the, it's very dusty, someone's taken the cassette loading thing off at some point and then ruined it, trying to put it back in the wrong place. Oh yeah, got to get the knob off and undo the nut. Luckily the nuts are barely done up, so that's good. Okay, undo more screws. Get this control panel lifted up out of the way. All that's flopping about. There's not much you can do about that because the front panel board's made in two halves there, and these clip things sort of hold it together, but not really when you're flipping it all over the place. So we've still got to get, because of all this business, is there enough length in these? I suppose we don't need that control panel if we've got this knob, but then when we don't have the front on, we don't know what position the knob's in, but it's quite well all tied together. Mostly, except that wire is around the post of that. So we've got to undo the bracket in order to get that off, well, to give it enough length that we can lift this up again. And then the knob thing, so we just unplug that. Okay, this is folded out now, so unplug that. There is corrosion. Oh no, maybe it's grease. It'll be okay. Now what are we going to do? I want to get this whole thing out so we can inspect it. We have to unplug all these wires. Some do not want to undo. And that one there, unfortunately, is down there. The screws at the front to release the mechanism. We can use the information we gained on the previous video on the G20 to see whether the cassette mechanism is timed properly to the rest of the mechanism. We'll get this out first and then we'll take a look at that before we stick the other mechanism into this. Oh, that there does have to undo. Okay, so we can get to that. That's undone. Now it's just this one that goes under there. I was wondering, could we unplug it from the other end? Maybe not. Bit annoying that. Okay, the mechanism is out. Now, can we get this to store this somewhere temporarily? So all this schmoo everywhere. I'll be back in a moment once I clean that. Okay. I think we're going again. I don't know. We definitely stopped for a while and then I don't know. Anyway, what's up with this thing? Is there any way of seeing? Is it in the right position? We're going to have to take the top bit off, because that makes it easier to see. Now, can we see? Probably still can't see. What we're going to have to do is get those. I can't even see where the screw is. How do you normally get this out? Okay, let's just wind it all the way onto there. Undo these first screws, then we'll wind it back to where it would be if the alignment was right. Then we'll take it off and then look at it and then presumably find out what's going on. This mechanism is so full of dust and hairs and that good quality rattly head. Okay, now we're going to wind this back to roughly where it would be. Now take off the last two screws. Did I already ruin it? I don't know. Now hopefully in here it will refresh us on exactly where the timing needs to be. I don't think so. I'm guessing it's just going to say refer to the G20 book. Oh, you can get the power supply out and have it sitting on the side if you want. Ah, okay. So it says it's the same as the G mechanical chassis, refer to the G mechanical chassis manual. Alright, so we have to get the G20 manual back. That's where the information is. So here we go. So when we pull it off, it's got to have the second tooth in slot 5, which is the one above the little hole. And if that's not the case, then that's the problem. If it is the case, something else is the problem. Could be that because it's so dirty and crusty, the mode switch is full of crust. And the problem is we can't see. It seems like there's something wrong in this part. That rack is in the wrong place. It's also incredibly dirty and dusty. Because it doesn't, like, it gets to the end, yet it's not far enough forward. Oh, look, that's because, oops, that's now coming out. Everything's falling apart. That's because this one here is not in the right place. Is that because I took it apart before? Is that what the problem is? Is it that easy? No, it's still not going all the way back. Wait. I don't understand. Something about that. Yeah, something's happened somewhere, and that rack thing doesn't seem to be able to go back far enough to be installed in the correct position. And I don't know why that is. So I guess there's something up with it. We'll just put this aside. It's too dirty and It's going to need like fully reworking to get that back in business. So we'll not do that here, and we'll instead try taking the mechanism out of the other machine, popping it into the one we just took the mechanism out of, and then we'll see if it works or not. Now everything's dirty again. Okay, so we're going to get this mechanism out. Yeah, this is the one that has the damaged circuit board and didn't have a power supply. So we're hoping that means that the mechanism in this one is alright. Functionally. Well, at least that screw's not munted in this one. Except my screwdriver's still munted. You've got to have the right screwdriver for those, unfortunately. Well, yeah, that's it. And my one is worn out too much. Anyway, we're going to get all the cables out of this. Unplug all the wires. Yeah, I wanted to take that off the head amp because then we can get out the other wire a lot easier, but can't because I don't have the right screwdriver and the screws are munted now. Alright, so that's freed. Get back this one. Plug everything back in. An interesting double row connector. Get this most difficult one in. Good. And put this mechanism back into position. Now we'll find out what happens. Happens when we turn this on. I don't know, do we need the other thing? Yeah, the other thing. What we do need is to connect that final wire up. The one that goes to the loading mechanism. See if we can do that without snapping its little thingy off. Okay, and now this connector here needs doing back up. I'll plug this in the video signal in hope, I guess. And we'll plug it in the power. Put everything else in, right? It's still going to do that thing? No? No, it's good. Yeah, we'll see if it accepts the tape then. Why is it going into play mode? Does that mean the record prevention switch is bung? Maybe. So the picture's kind of there. ×2 mode. Was that play or was that something else? So it's doing a weird thing. I don't know why it's making such a noise. I think it's something to do with the control of the capstan. Yeah, so it's got some kind of servo issue by the look of it. Controlling the capstan motor. Oh well, we found some problems in these things. Mechanical problem in one, and what looks like a servo motor controller issue in the other one. Well, maybe it's just lost control of the speed. So either there's the sensing wrong, or was it the tracking control? No, adjusting the picture. No, the picture sharpness. No, it was just by coincidence, I think. I don't know. Maybe it's capacitors. That's pretty likely, isn't it? Capacitors have warmed up a bit now and it's gone back to a working bizarre thing that was happening. Probably electrolytic capacitors, right? And after now doing a bit of work, it's warmed it up slightly, got it less leaky, and now the picture's more or less under control. Reverse play? Not too bad. Does the tracking affect that? Yeah, but you're not going to be able to get rid of the noise bars. Oh, what, there's crust on there. Dirty. Alright, well maybe this would be a good machine if it was all put back together all properly. Maybe we should just put it back together since we're here and it's kind of good now. I don't know. The thing is, the chance of it actually getting used again is small. Should put back the grounding wires. And we also haven't even screwed the mechanism in yet. What a shame those wires aren't getting tied up again. Now there's heaps of stuff on the front to do up. Little clips and things for the cables to go in, which are annoying to get out. They're very capturing. All the clippy things. Now we need to get a control panel in here. Oops. Interesting how much it's settled down and just working now. Yeah, control panel's hooked up. Check the pause. Good. Now this should hopefully be able to re-engage itself. More red screws. The last clip thing for the control panel. Oops. Started one touch recording. Okay, there we go. Now more screws to go in. Oh, it pushes on a switch, the pause button, when you put it back. When you push the flap up, because there's nothing limiting how far the flap can go up. Get the flap up. Okay, that's quite a lot of stuff done up. Now, there is more. There are more red screws on the front here. Okay, that's fine. You can clip the front panel back down now. I wonder if YouTube's going to get angry because we're watching a movie now. We're not allowed to do that. Might have to block it out again. And put the little nut back on this special control board thingy. Should be using a socket, not the dodgy pliers. Oh well. Put that back in. Clean it so it's all nice. Great. Look at that. Pause. Slow motion. Reverse play. Normal play. ×2 play. What a brilliant device. Okay, and now I'm going to put that thingy back on the bottom. This good thingy. I know how that goes in. Just like that, I guess. And we've got a crusty metal panel to put in, full of all kinds of dust and crust. That doesn't seem right, because those things don't even line up with the stuff in there. Yeah, these ones don't seem to want to go back into... well, that one did. They didn't seem to want to go back into their original thread. Which is important, because you don't want to be cutting new threads, because at some point it will be cutting its last. And then it's not going to do up anymore. Wait till the end to do the final tightening, otherwise you'll have to undo it all again when something doesn't line up and shift the panel around. Wonderful, a job well done. Perfect working condition NV-G25 VCR. Perfect working condition, yeah right. Wow. Marginal working condition for an unknown length of time because it's definitely on its last legs. Could have been the power supply warming up. The rail that drives the motors could have been real wonky for a bit. That's probably what's going on, because that's probably one that hasn't been recapped yet, so it's definitely on its last legs in that case. It's about to spew its guts everywhere. Great! Hope you enjoyed that look at 3 different NV-G25 VCRs from National and Panasonic. Even though it's just a branding thing, it looks like we put the Panasonic panel back on this one. Seems to be in working order for now, but definitely no guarantees about that because this thing is old and tired. Stay tuned for next time. We're probably going to look at the G30, I guess. I think that's what I've got next in the pile. And then 40 maybe? We'll find out. Stay tuned till next time.